Have you ever had that itch to go back to 2019 and experience those first few Skyblock updates? Your first update may have been that historic Dungeons release that was hyped for a year. Maybe you got introduced when the first 3 Slayers dropped and admins were teasing new tiers and bosses that would take years to ever release. Perhaps you were introduced when the End update came out and everyone raced to mine shiny blocks and kill thousands of zealots to fight dragons. Or you could have been there on that fateful day in June like myself. So since there's no way to actually turn the clocks back, and I'm not a programmer, I've thought of a way to experience those days just a little bit. Since the ultimate goal of Skyblock since release has been generally to be as powerful as possible and to reach the end game, as the community has labeled it, that'll be the main focus as we progress through this challenge. Endgame has seen its form change from obtaining Emerald Armor all the way to maxing out Skyblock XP at level 568. I'm going to start this challenge by limiting myself only to the islands, collections, minions, items, armors, and weapons available in the first release. Once I've reached the end game of that update, I will then unlock access to the next update, which I will also have to reach the end game of. Follow me as we see how Skyblock and progression have evolved over the years. Now, since the Iron Man game mode came out in October of 2020, I'll be starting this challenge on a normal profile. Although I am doing that, I will be restricting myself heavily. I will only, for a select few reasons, buy any items from players, such as when I cover the Bazaar release and items that just require a few months of minions. I much prefer grinding for items myself, but if you at home are following along and wish to play this challenge differently, then go right ahead. But with that out of the way, let's start the Hypixel Skyblock Retro Challenge and get started on the banana profile. I start this challenge like any old profile. I chop down the first tree, bridge over to the next island, say what up to Jerry, and then I walk through the portal. I'm making this video just a few months after the hub revamp and the full switch to modern versions. The hub used to look very different back in the day, but the core tasks are still there. So I first traveled to the farm to punch wheat for a little bit, eventually reaching farming level 10. I then crafted the very first talisman of this challenge. To complete this update, there are 17 talismans that I will need to collect. More on that later. After that, I crafted a tier 5 wheat minion and unlocked the 6th minion slot. With this early farming out of the way, I believe we have enough money to head to the mines. Before venturing into the mines, I needed to pick up an undead sword and the rogue sword. The undead sword was basically the only weapon on release besides the now unobtainable ember rod. I then stack up on the talismans from the adventurer, bringing the count to 7 out of 17. I mine some coal and get very lucky with the legendary reforge on my first roll. I then traveled to the gold mine to collect more coal, iron, and gold, making sure to craft iron armor to increase my chances of survival on the next island, the deep caverns. Here I talk to the lift operator and head down to the lapis quarry. I spent a bit of time here killing zombies and mining lapis, but quickly traveled deeper to the pigmen's den. While I'm mining redstone, I experienced my first death where most did on release. After unlocking the accessory bag, I deposit my talismans and head for the slime hill. I'll be spending a lot of time here later, but for now I got enough emeralds to craft a minion and the talisman of coins. I test my luck now with the diamond reserve skeletons and quickly die. I realize now that I will need a lot more damage and defense to survive. The best way for both is going to be getting enchantments. On release, you'd have to unlock the recipe for each enchantment and craft it into a book to apply to your sword. Now that you have access to every enchantment at the enchantment table, I will only allow myself to select those that I have unlocked the collection tier for a discount on. The first enchantment was in the Iron Collection. This did not take very long, and now I could put protection on my armor. I killed a ton of zombies, but eventually gained access to the Smite enchant. Now with some more defense and damage, I headed back to the deep caverns to get experience for even more defense. Feeling accomplished with this session, I crafted the redstone, iron, gold, and coal minions. Then I placed down what could fill my slots and logged off for a couple days. Over the next couple weeks, I started to progress into the final stages of this challenge. I returned to the deep caverns and collected a full set of minor armor. This armor doubles all defense when in the mines, and when paired with Protection 5 makes me virtually unkillable. From here, though, I shift my attention away from the mines for a moment to complete my talisman collection. I used a pig minion for most of the pork, but I did collect some manually as well. The 40 enchanted pork was not so bad to collect, and I could craft the piggy bank. Similarly, I used a minion to collect a lot of mushrooms, but I did also gather many manually. The roadblock here was not the actual number of items for the talisman, but the immense 10,000 collection requirement, though I did eventually craft the night vision charm. I then chopped oak wood for quite a while. This was slow without a jungle axe or tricapitator, but the wood affinity talisman eventually was added to my bag. I then needed to go back to the mines to collect the obsidian for a gravity talisman. I then moved on to finish collecting the poisonous potatoes and unlocked the recipe for the vaccine talisman. I made a short journey to the mushroom desert and picked up the speed talisman. Another quick talisman was the potion affinity talisman. This literally took 10 seconds of breaking netherwort. Another short talisman was the feather talisman, just taking a handful of feathers. What was not quick, however, was the bat talisman. I genuinely started to believe that they must have changed how you obtain this talisman because I just could not get it. I want to play here a clip of every single bat that I killed on camera. Believe me, there were more off camera. Not much, but enough to make me go crazy. You can tell from the pause here just how excited I was to get this talisman. What makes it worse, though, is I actually dropped a bat talisman while tearing down the big ugly box on my island. I've yet to reveal what the endgame requirement is for this update. No surprises, it's emerald armor. Everyone knows that if you had this armor set back in 2019, you were the coolest person ever. Crafted with 24 enchanted emerald blocks or 614,000 emeralds, this armor set took me a while to make. That's why most people just put some minions down and crafted it right before it became useless with the end update. But I want this video to actually come out, so I decided to do the irrational and manually mine for a while. To effectively do this, I needed to obtain the Fortune enchant, which has a whopping 25,000 collection barrier of gold. This enchant grants 30 mining fortune, which pushed me just over the threshold for 100 total. This ensured every emerald ore mined gave me 2 emeralds rather than 1. I just set some minions down and waited. With that enchant picked up, I could dedicate all 11 minion slots to emeralds and was generating about 20,000 passively each day. The first clip I recorded of my progress was on June 23rd, where I reached 200,000 emeralds. On the 28th, I reached 300,000, taking 5 days. This meant I actually didn't mine any manually in this time period, but the next achievement of 400,000 was reached on July 1st. Shortening this little stretch by 2 days, I was collecting on average 13,500 emeralds manually each day. With a rate of somewhere between 6,000 to 7,000 emeralds per hour, this was melting my brain. I achieved 500,000 emeralds on the 4th of July. which was at an identical rate to the previous stretch. I kept up the same pace and broke 600,000 on the 7th. At this point, I was still missing about 40,000 emeralds, but I just couldn't bear to mine anymore. On the morning of the 9th, I woke up and finally had 24 enchanted emerald blocks. Today is finally the day. I have 24 enchanted emerald blocks, and it's time to craft. I don't know why I started with the leggings. Boom. Boots. Helmet. Chest plate. Oh yeah, look at that. The actual base defense on this looks actually pretty terrible. A little better than what I have. But it's time to enchant this thing. I have a few leftover levels from grinding. Let's go. Protection. 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 Oh yeah, that's a lot better. But still, it's missing something. Growth. 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 Now that's what I'm talking about. Currently, I have about 252 health and 186 defense. That is 725 effective HP. And when I put on this armor, 761 health, 600 defense. My effective health is over 5,000. Oh yeah. Now here in the deep caverns, these slimes used to do actually a slightly considerable amount of damage to me, but now I really want to see if they can hurt me at all. Oh my goodness, they can't. I just out-heal them. Oh yeah. I guess when there's two of them trying to bully me in a corner, I'm starting to lose health. But I'm not worried at all. Oh man, this is some crazy health. That is why this was the coolest armor set back in the day. You really are just invincible. Well, that concludes the first episode of this series. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. This took over 40 hours of gameplay, 30 of which were spent mining emeralds in the deep caverns. I lost my mind doing this, but I can't wait to bring you guys the end update in like a month or something.